I'm Tom DeLacy, Director of Spanish American Football Academy here in New York City. You are watching Field of Dreams on ACTN. Forza! Forza! Forza!
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Field of Dreams on ACTN. I'm Steve David and I'm your host. Today we talk, it's the big showdown, TTFA versus FIFA. We talk to the president of TTFA, William Wallace, and Keith Lucloy, who is the technical chairman of the technical committee. Let me take time to introduce the group. To my left is my co-host, Narada Wilson. Welcome to the set, Narada.
Always a pleasure to be here, Steve. And today I think the topic is, is something that is the most important topic right now in Trinidad and Tobago football. And it's a pleasure to be here with the two gentlemen.
It's the biggest game they have on the field right now.
Yeah, it is.
And we would break it down. We're the referee.
Yeah.
And you viewers, you're the referee as well. Let me introduce Chairman of the Technical Committee. Is that the right, Keith?
Correct.
Keith Lucloy. Welcome to the set, Keith.
Always glad to be here. Thank you.
Always glad to have you, bud. And next to Keith is the president of the TTFA, the president of our football, Mr. William Wallace. Welcome to the set.
Thank you, Steve. Pleasure to be here.
Glad to have you as well. Well, let's set the field. Let's set the tone for. And we're gonna go from you being elected as the TTFA group to run the whole of football in Trinidad and Tobago. We're gonna start there. We're gonna nothing before, and we're gonna move forward to. I want you guys to lay the platform as to what you've done until the normalization committee came in. And then we're going to go further with the questions and all of that, right? Now, either you can answer, I'm not going to point out anybody, or both can answer, or both can lay out the whole platform for us. Tell us what happened from the day that you was elected as the body for TTFA.
Well, let me start. Listen, good morning. Good to Trinidad and Tobago, to all viewers. You are asking from the day that we were elected to the day that we were rejected.
That piece, yes. Elected and rejected, I like that.
What is important here is that we don't think that we were rejected by the persons who elected us. And for us, that is very, very crucial and important. It is simply a coup. The thing about the election is that we had a full house. We had a full turnout. We followed all the guidelines of the Constitution. FIFA and CONCACAF were represented at the elections, and we won the elections. We got into office. Of course, we would have campaigned on a platform of transparency. That's very crucial to us. We were saying then that Trinidad and Tobago football had gone through so much, and people had lost confidence. The man on the street, corporate Trinidad and Tobago lost confidence. And the only way we can bring this back is through transparency. And we promised that we would reveal to Trinidad and Tobago all that we met, and also account to Trinidad and Tobago as to what we did going forward. And of course, that is how we started. Steve, we got in there was November, for example, there was no money to pay salaries. We got the job done. By the end of December, I was able to pay over $1 million to creditors. You know, and incidentally, these creditors were so happy, and many of them indicated that, you know, it was a breath of fresh air in that they were owed money and nobody spoke to them, nobody took their phone calls, people hid from them. So they were so glad to be able to at least talk to somebody. During that time, Steve, I met, I would say, over 100 creditors. You know, they come in, I made appointments. Sometimes I'm there all day, just meeting with creditors. And we started to open up the Trinidad and Tobago. We were given every time we met as the management group, we would basically indicate to Trinidad and Tobago through our press officer and through our Facebook account and so on. Actually, what we did, where we were going, where we were taking football. For the first time in a long time, we were able to achieve something on the field of play. I mean, we had 4 years where all our teams failed. All. Our first outing with our women's team, we were able to at least get to a quarterfinal. We set up a new website and so many other things we did. And when we had our press conference and we accounted for our first 100 days in office, we outlined a series of things that we had already gotten done. Met with referees, we settled the issue with Selwyn Melville. Series of things were done. And suddenly, out of the blue, of course, all this time, we were doing all of this with no funding from FIFA. And when we inquired, persons in the accounts department couldn't tell us why we were not getting funding. On further inquiry, we were pointed to a gentleman who basically is charged with responsibility of Caribbean and African federations. And he indicated to us that we would not get any funding until FIFA CONCACAF mission comes to Trinidad. I said, okay, no problem. We were glad to have the mission because we wanted to actually let them know what we found. But just backing up a bit, and I think I probably may have been the person responsible for all of this happening. Backing up a bit, looking back at some of the things that happened before. I went to a CONCACAF president's meeting in Miami. And I indicated there that we are going to be revealing to Trinidad and Tobago everything that we met. I said that too in that meeting. and I'm looking back at it now, in addition to that, I was interviewed, as all new presidents are. I was interviewed, and one of the things that I said in that interview, and I'm looking back now and putting the pieces together, is I made a statement, a bold statement in that interview, that, you know, the voice of Caribbean was lost in this one CONCACAF. And I said, I have no problem with the one CONCACAF, but I'm saying that the Caribbean is supposed to maintain an identity and a voice within the one CONCACAF. And subsequent to that, I went on a Fazir program and said the same thing. And I got a call from the States saying to me that that statement ruffled some feathers, even here. So looking back now, I think the direction that we were going in, the way we were thinking, I think it wasn't a happy place for some people. And I think based on that, of course, action was taken. I'll say more on that while we go on. So I'll allow probably Keith to have a say.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Keith has some stuff that we might have missed.
Well, I mean,
just
to recap, right? What Wallace is saying is absolutely correct. United TTFA ran on a program of democracy, transparency, and accountability. When we got in there, excuse me, we had to lay bare as much as we could what had transpired before the election. And what we saw, we said. What we saw, we said.
Right.
And that surely ruffled some feathers. But the most important point alongside that is the point that Wally ended on, which is that the new TTFA sees itself as an independent body, a sovereign body.
Right.
We are accountable not merely to CONCACAF and FIFA and the international organizations we belong to, but first and foremost and last, we are accountable to our members and the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And we have to govern the association accordingly. Yes? So we had to account to them regarding what had been found. Matters that I have discussed here many times previously, the missing millions, right? The financial malpractice, which we don't have to go into today, etc., that crippled the TTFA. And alongside that, because the president early in the game indicated we are going to chart an independent course, we're not kissing anybody's ring. We don't see ourselves as beholden to anybody. The people who hold the purse strings at the level of FIFA decided we cannot abide by this. We have to move these people from office. And that is what this is all about. The internal financial malpractice and the international refusal to kiss a ring and play the FIFA game.
Okay, before we go further, what about the transition from the old regime to you? Was that, cordial? Was that done? And how was that done?
There was no transition. We had to find our way.
You had to find your own way?
Yeah, we had to find our way. The GS was there for a bit, so we got some help from him and cooperation from the GS. But that is as far as it went. We had to find our way. So we actually depended on senior employees in the association, persons in finance, etc., to kind of give us an idea of where we go. And so there was no transition. Since the election, I have not spoken to the president of the past president. He has not spoken. He left the elections during just about at the end of the election. Abruptly, he left, and that was it. Steve, when I look at this whole thing, before the elections or during the campaign, you are hearing senior persons, actually persons who actually ran on a ticket against us, making the point that basically it's a lose-lose situation for us. In that if we win the election, we are going to lose it. Before the elections. Mm-hmm. Coming forward a bit, the Minister of Sport, and I'm saying that here this morning, made a statement that she knew about this long before we got a letter. And incidentally, she kind of backtracked on that after and said she was misquoted. But she said she knew long before. And I'm saying this here again this morning, without fear of contradiction, that the chairman of the normalization committee called me. And of course, I was glad to take the call, of course. He apologized to me that he didn't think that this was supposed to happen. He think that we would not give him a chance, and that he got this call in January. Our election was in November, and he got this call in January, and he said, he wasn't too sure he wanted to take it based on the fact that he think that we would not give him a chance. So he thought long and hard about it before he decided in March that he's going to take it. All right? Incidentally, the reasons given by FIFA, 2 reasons in the letter sent to us. And let me just say the letter wasn't sent to us. We found out that we were normalized on the internet. And when we wrote FIFA to find out if this had any truth in it, they said to us that they sent a letter, but they sent it to the wrong email address. I know, so from the beginning, this was meant to embarrass us. All right, we had to read like everybody else that we were normalized. And, we were communicating with FIFA all before that with emails. And suddenly this particular email went to the wrong address, And, so coming back to the point of he saying to me that he was told since January. And then FIFA sent a mission here at the end of February, is it, or March, after Carnival. All right? The Ash Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And the 2 points that they indicated in the letter to us that we eventually got, reasons for normalizing is 1, the debt. Of course, this debt is not new. It was there all the time. I mean, it went up over the last 4 years. And 2, the lack of any financial structure within the organization. But normalization discussion started in January. But in March, when the mission came in, they are saying that the reason came from the report out of the visit. Just to add to that, so there was a visit to Trinidad and Tobago by a mission of CONCACAF FIFA. We have not received a report from that. We haven't. We haven't received anything, no communication. So here you are, my parent body. You came, you sent a mission, they brought back information to you. I would expect some sort of communication to take place. Zero. The only thing that I said is that we found out on the internet that we were normalized.
So you ever had a visit from FIFA when you took office? Mm-hmm. You guys ever had a visit from FIFA that came in to look at records to see you off?
Well, that's
school.
That's
basically that's the visit I'm talking about. They send persons in to look at.
Okay.
And here it is. As I said, the two reasons. I want people to understand, and Trinidad to be clear on this. That the two reasons given. Of course, the debt, fine.
That is one. Yeah.
Known.
Mm-hmm.
So this is no secret to Trinidad and Tobago. But the more curious item is the second item, in that there was a lack of financial structure within the organization. Of course there was a lack of financial structure within the organization. We got into office within that 3 months. We commissioned our financial committee to do their investigation. They came up with the report because we were worried about how money was spent prior to that and where the financial controls were, and is it that the president alone had the power to sign off on funding, on monies and so on?
Right.
So that's a road we wanted to go down. We brought people in there. No financial structure. Nobody knows the limits. There was nothing, zero. We found all of that. We put a report together. When FIFA came in, we handed them the report. This is what we found. The persons that came in, this was if I can quote them. Well, actually, we came in to look at this. So this is 50% of our job finished. Do you know that is one of the reasons that they used to normalize Trinidad and Tobago? The very thing that we found and pointed out and actually showed them that we are going to fix this. We had already met with 2 meetings we had with our board in terms of board members on their fiduciary duty and so on, and how we are going to fix this in terms of procurement, etc., etc., etc. They actually used the document that we sent them to say to us that we are going to put you out of office for finding something. So in other words, basically what has happened here is that the person who pulled the fire alarm is being punished, and the arsonist is being set free. You know.
Okay, so all right, let's take a break. When we come back, we will talk about what you found and what your structure was to move forward and how they reacted to that. Viewers, will be right back after the short break.
From the moment Wallace and company won, the gun wasn't only loaded, it was, they cocked it. Because in that meeting, that election meeting,
Right.
candidates that lost were saying, normalization committee is coming. In the very meeting, you were in that meeting, Steve.
I just saw you playing out there, and you look real good. Who are you?
Well, I'm Mrs. Gankisa. I'm the best footballer point of the city.
Oh, really? You know any of the older players who play here?
Well, I know Warren Archibald, Leroy Dillion.
Stop. You know me? Boy, I was the best striker, the best forward that this country ever seen.
Oh, Wilfred K.
Boy, I'm Steve David, boy. Okay, welcome back, viewers. So before the break, we were talking about you guys found some dirt in the house, which was supposed to be very clean, or a clean house, meaning that all these stuff should have been in place. So you find issues, you point it out to them, and you told them how you were going to get rid of it.
Yeah, how we want to move forward, how we want to fix
forward.
that. You know,
Tell us about that.
just to make this clear, and I think Trinidad and Tobago need to know this. I mean, we have done our research. between 2005 to now, approximately 33 countries were normalized by FIFA. Every single country that was normalized by FIFA was normalized because of the persons in office would have done something to bring about normalization, whether it was corruption, whether it was government interference, or whatever it was. All right? Every single one. The only country that the officers who put out of office for not being culpable for anything or sins that they did not commit is in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, and this tells you something, and it is passing strange that the Trinidad and Tobago public, the media, you know, they just can't see this. And incidentally, we are getting feedback from international media who are seeing through this, seeing it clear as day. But here in Trinidad and Tobago, you know, we have all this business of who we support and who we don't support, and it doesn't matter. The facts are not important. It is more important to show allegiance to who you support. And it's very sad. It's a sad situation.
We charting new waters, right, Keith? And we're going to be the first one to beat FIFA.
Well, you see, let me just add to Wally's last point. We also have to look at a recent development in Zimbabwe. In the Zimbabwe Football Association, the life of I'll have to call them the current executive, expired in March, but because of COVID, FIFA has extended it. Mm-hmm. But more than that, or alongside that, that executive, for your life, inherited a debt from a previous administration and carried that debt and added to that debt for 4 years.
Right.
FIFA, I repeat, has extended the life of that executive and is now saying they're going to pay the debt of that executive.
Right.
So the situations are very similar, right? The Wallace administration inherited a debt, but carried it for 3.5 months.
Right.
You don't propose meeting with that executive to decide or to discuss how the debt could be paid. You decide unilaterally, in a very high-handed manner, to remove an executive that has been there for 3.5 months, because of debt, but you're going to pay the debt of another executive in Africa that carried a debt which it inherited for 4 years.
And to add to that, something I did not see that was also handed to FIFA when they visited was a plan to deal with the $50 million debt. And it's the first time that any executive came into office in the last 15 years, 3 elections, and came with a plan to deal with the debt. We had an MOU signed off by persons who we were engaging, and we handed FIFA a copy of that. We were questioned and so on. We answered the questions, yes, why would this company want to do this? We answered, we told them why and so on. We handed them that document. So they had that document, and they had the document in terms of, yes, and as I said, those are the things that they used to say, no, you can't stay in office,
So, I mean, do you honestly believe it's because your lack of ability to do this, or they came with a loaded gun? Don't you think so?
Well, the gun was loaded from the moment Wallace and company won. The gun wasn't only loaded, it was, they cocked it. Because in that meeting, that election meeting,
right,
candidates that lost were saying normalization committee is coming. In the very meeting, you were in that meeting, Steve. You were in that meeting representing Civic, sure, right? And in that meeting, the people who lost were saying a normalization committee is coming. Wally has said it is on the public record, not only here, but in the print media as well, that the chairman of the normalization committee, Haddad, admitted to him and others that he had been talking to FIFA since January. So they primed the gun, right? It had already been loaded. They primed it in the meeting, and they fired the shot in March, but they prepared the target from January. Yes? So I'm saying that we have to be blind, and I want to pick up on the point about the local media. The local media, to mix the metaphors, although we're playing football, has long now dropped the ball. They have dropped the ball, and all the local media is looking for is a little piece of bacchanal here and a little piece of bacchanal there, but the big story, the big story, and they don't have to take a side. They don't have to take a side. But the big story of how FIFA is handling a brand new executive and the issues that arise from that, the international media have already begun to pick up on it, will pick up on it even more, because this little Trinidad and Tobago has forced the big FIFA Goliath to respond to its case in the local court. The international media have picked up on that, and they will continue to pick up on it, while the local media are asleep.
Right.
Yeah. For me, one of the things that, and I would agree with Keith on that, is in terms of the media, would be that I think all the pieces to the puzzle is not being, put out to them, or they are not taking an interest in it. Because one of the moves that, FIFA would have made would have been to, when the 50% of the work in the finances was done, they put an offer on the table to have someone, deal with that handling. However, not taking into consideration that that person was named possibly in some of the findings that was found. And I think once that move was made, you realize after one move, you have to move the whole board. You have to change the entire board. Having a talk with someone in January on something to happen in the future, is very disturbing. It is not, I wouldn't say, I think the media should have run with that instead of saying, this is now happening. They should have said, why was the timing when it happened? What I would like to ask the executive is there any other, FIFA comes, saying that they have 2 reasons that they are now changing the executive. Is there any way that the executive showed that they were not capable of facilitating or handling the debt that was ahead? What were some of the steps that you put forward to FIFA? What were some of the programs that you had already engaged in that were showing that we were on the right track to football for the year 2020 and beyond?
Well, if I may deal with the debt, and Keith could probably go into the other areas here in terms of the football, because for us, we Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, for me, the core product is the football. And I think, and Keith will tell you about that. And we would have seen where the core product went over the last 4 years. It disappeared. And all the people who are doing all these petitions and things now, they not petition then. So the youth that they are talking about now, we disbanded our under-23 team, we disbanded our women's team, those youths were not important. But the youths, something was happening. Nobody petitioned. But you know what they are petitioning? Something that may happen. We may get banned. So let us talk about that. But 4 years we have gone backwards. We have not served the youths as we were supposed to, but nobody petitioned. And therein lies the dilemma for me. But anyway, I'm learning. I'm learning Trinidad and Tobago. I'm learning Trinidad and Tobago. In terms of the debt, listen, so the debt was $16 million in 2050. It's a debt that moved to $50 million by 2020. And we came into office. We produced a document, and I'm saying one memorandum of understanding signed by an international company and us, showing where within 2 to 3 years we would have paid off the $50 million. All right, we had that. My point is this: shouldn't that be something that should have been discussed?
Yeah, give you a chance.
I mean, for the first time.
I don't think any executive has set a time frame.
So I would have
thought
that. Well, FIFA would have been glad to sit and say, "Well, yes, this sounds interesting. Let us talk about this." Nothing. That was just thrown aside. So is it that? And I started to question: is it that we are supposed to remain? We are not supposed to become independent because paying off that debt gives us some degree of independence. Right. Is it that we are supposed to stay in a state of where we are always begging for something so that we can be controlled? Is it that? So there was a fear that if we pay off this $50 million and we started to run football again, that our dependency would not be. I think that is something that a parent body is supposed to encourage. My children must get on their own foot and start walking. Mm-hmm. But is it that is something that is not encouraged? That we must always be in a state where we beg, and therefore if we beg, then you have control over us? There are so many factors in here. And my people my people in Trinidad and Tobago and more so the football fraternity are not standing up, are not seeing these things. All they could think about is that we will get banned. You know, let us bring our collective voices together to make sure that we don't get banned.
Right.
You know, that is not happening. You know, but again, as I said, I'm learning.
If I could add again, take off on that, and then I'll go on to,
Yes, no problem.
to briefly discuss what FIFA has aborted up to now. I'll talk about that, right? But the FIFA, one, and CONCACAF, one is led to believe, have a political investment in our dependency and in the disarray of Caribbean football. They do not want strong, independent national associations. They want us forever hanging on to FIFA financing and little more. And they do not want a collectively strong Caribbean football union that could dominate the politics and the development of CONCACAF football. Because we have the numbers. We are 35 of the 31, I think it is, of the 41 CONCACAF members. Yeah. They don't want that, right? So they're quite happy to support the existence of Caribbean football leaders who toe their line, who do what they want, and who are terrified of losing funding because they do not wish to have to do the work that will generate independent financing to give them a leg to stand on. That is the fact, right? FIFA made no remarks, never mind negative remarks about television rights being sold off to people in the past, and even now, when a candidate in a losing slate was given broadcast rights for Caribbean football or for CONCACAF football very recently. They have nothing to say about it. I ain't gonna call no names. And all you know, I ain't afraid to call names, but I wouldn't call any name, right? Was just so free sheet, giving rights to CONCACAF football, including Caribbean club football. They have nothing to say about that, but broadcast rights generate independent income. The association should be sharing in that, but they don't want us financially stable. They have an investment in keeping us weak and separate from each other. But let me get to the point now about what FIFA has aborted. A technical committee was established. You know that, we discussed that here, right? And according to many people, that committee did in 3 months what the past administration hadn't done in 4 years, right? We established a structure for the development of the local game. We established protocol and procedure for the development of the national teams, and we sent a team into action, the women's under 20, and for the first time in God knows how long, a Trinidad and Tobago national team emerged from group play. We got to the quarterfinal round. Right. Yeah, we were very happy about that. It was our first baby step into the deep blue ocean. Yes, they have cut all of that. FIFA has stopped all of that. Right? Why? Because of the politics. They have, I am led to believe, I ain't talking for Wallace, I am led to believe that they have no interest in the development of our game. Otherwise, they would have supported the Wallace administration. They would have sat down and said, when we were fighting for money to send this under 20 team to the Dominican Republic, right? They would have facilitated the funding that we are due by right. And let me just go off on a little tangent. People talking, the president of the Caribbean Football Union, Randy Harris of Barbados, is on record as saying, well, you know, FIFA is the big boss. I'm paraphrasing. FIFA is the big boss. They give us money. It is a privilege that they extend to us. It's basically a favor, and we can rock the boat. No, that money is our money by right. We are shareholders in the international enterprise called FIFA. FIFA generates its money from television rights for the World Cup. We play in the World Cup. We buy rights to World Cup. That money is our money that comes back to us on an annual basis. This is not some politician building a standpipe on my street or paving my road.
Right.
Right? This is how we look at it, you know, a politician pave your road. Oh God, we're so thankful. No, why am I thanking you for doing the job that I put you there to do? That I finance with my taxes, with my money that build that road. You ain't doing me no favor. And in the same way, that money that is coming to us as a national association by right is our money that has to come to us. But FIFA holds it, you know, like a sword of Damocles over your head. Will it fall? Will it not? And everybody is terrified. I'll say this on pause. I talk to Caribbean Football Union general secretaries and presidents and officials every week. A lot of them, I know them, yes? And they all say, well, boy, Keith, everybody know what's going on, but you know how it is. You know how it is, Keith. Because everybody is terrified that FIFA will strangle them. As they were attempting to strangle the Wallace administration, but we have put this little Trinidad, we have blocked them at every turn. They tried to put Tyrrell Patrick, who was signing checks with John Williams, they tried to put him in charge, that was blocked. Yes? They tried to impose a normalization committee. We blocked the committee from getting access to the bank account. Yes? I want to put it on record. Wallace is on record. I want to say it here as saying we have nothing against the staff. If FIFA wants to pay the staff directly from money that is owed to us, the TTFA, they're free to do that. We wish they would pay the staff so that the staff could be paid for work they have done.
Right.
They are owed. We're not blocking the staff, but the FIFA Normalization Committee will not control the TTFA bank account because they cannot overturn an elected government. Yes? They tell us we must go to CAS, and when we go to CAS, they want to manipulate the rules to suit their own purpose. And they're shocked because they didn't expect us to stand up, and now they have to come to a different stadium to play. They had to come in a different stadium to play, right? And now, because they signed up their documents, yesterday is it? Yeah. That they will participate in the case, and we will go forward from that. But you know, this image that we have as FIFA as the good, some people have FIFA as the good godfather, the fairy godmother of Caribbean football. That ain't so.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Viewers, we'll be right back.
I think this normalization committee was announced on the 17th of March, was it?
Yeah.
On the 24th of March, I wrote a letter to the FIFA president asking for us to discuss this. And pointing out in that letter that if you think that we need to have
we, from those encounters together, and this was a North-South game to open the season.
So the team might be playing well, as we always say with Trinidad and Tobago.
Futsal did that great for me.
Okay, hey everybody. Welcome to another edition of Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David. I'm your host. Okay, welcome back, viewers. Well, let's talk about, we have a few things to talk about, and there's some questions out there the viewers would like to know as well. Yeah. Okay, and of course, Wallace, you have a temperament like myself. We always in the back, we don't say much, and Keith look like get blasted for most of the stuff. People say all kind of stuff. But anyhow, let's talk about the ban. Right? Let's talk about
which is a worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario.
So here we
because
are.
People wanted to hear about that.
We have jumped ahead of ourselves here. We are talking about Trinidad and Tobago being banned. Of course, there is a possibility that whatever action FIFA can take at the end of the day. But you see, this action is not an individual taking action here. And that is what people have to understand. We have a Congress. It's about 210 countries, I think it is.
11, yeah.
11. All right? And this would have to go to the Congress, the 211 countries. And all the things that we are talking about here, all these things that we are revealing, the whole way that this thing was done, the lack of communication, nobody ever communicated with us. The only real communication we got from FIFA is to read that we were normalized. I mean, these are the facts out there. I am saying that if 210 countries have to vote, and the majority of those countries vote for Trinidad and Tobago to be banned, so be it, really. But this is a time to test the footballing nations. This is a time to test what FIFA, one of their slogans, fair play. I mean, these are the facts out there. This action was taken, and if football association and confederations around the world seem to agree that this was the correct thing to do, well, so be it. But as far as we are concerned, and we took this action based on knowing we have a case, a very strong case, and therefore that our case would be taken into account when a decision like this has to be made. Right? If we thought we could not appeal to people, we had a weak case, we would not have gone down this road. We know that we have a strong case, and we are going with that, and we are actually saying to the football for today, we believe in you, and you will be able to examine this and make a fair decision.
Right.
That's it.
Let me just toss in on that as well. We need to understand if it comes to pass what a ban involves, a suspension, what it involves. Right? Wally talked about the protocol for arriving at that. It is the General Assembly, the Congress that has to do it. Even if that were to happen, that does not stop domestic football from being played.
Right.
That suspension would mean we cannot participate in international competitions. But we also need to understand that there's no international football this year, you know, right? Because of COVID. The reality is that,
funding,
of course, government guidelines pending, we could play domestic football, but what international football do we have to look forward to? All of the tournaments that were to be played this year have been postponed into next year. Most of them already.
Right.
That's the first point. Secondly, the FIFA itself has already proposed that the international windows that have been lost in March and June, right, they have to be made up. They have to be compensated for. And they have proposed that international football should be played, or a new window should be established no earlier than November or December of this year. There's little international football to be played this year. So I'm saying that aside from the protocol of how a suspension would be arrived at, the real situation is that what are we going to miss this year while we fight this case? And it is a risk, right? It is a risk that this could happen. But, you know, people might say it is a bad analogy, but I will make it anyway. Some people will say, I'll make it anyway. Eric Williams, Dr. Eric Williams, and his people brought independence to Trinidad and Tobago. That's why he's called the father of the nation. You know, there were laws that made colonialism legal. Colonialism was a legal thing. Slavery was a legal thing. But people opposed those laws, right? At risk to themselves. They were not guaranteed to win, and it took a long time to win, and some failed, and then somebody else down the line picked it up. Eric Williams and the early PNM were not the only people to fight for independence. They achieved it.
All right.
So I'm saying that because something is the law, because something seems to have major odds stacked against you, does it mean that you back away from the fight? Does it mean that you don't say, on a principle, we have to stand up here? Because I guarantee you there are national associations across the globe watching Trinidad and Tobago, watching the TTFA. I guarantee you this, that there are people watching to see, because we are not the only one chafing under this colonial relationship with FIFA, right? Where they could just literally do what they want. I listened to a podcast coming out of Atlanta, Georgia yesterday. I shared it around the place. I sent it to you, Steve. From Atlanta, Georgia. And there was a Jamaican, one of the hosts is a Jamaican, and he was making the point, but wait, if they could do the TTFA this, tomorrow it could be Jamaica, and the day after that it could be Grenada, and it could be whoever FIFA is displeased with for whatever reason they choose. And last point I'll make is when we say FIFA, we're not talking about the Congress, because a preliminary decision is made by 4 or 5 people in a room somewhere in Zurich to suspend you. But what normally happens is that by the time you get to the Congress, people like Wallace, presidents and otherwise, they don't walk away and have given in so that it doesn't even arise at the Congress. The normalization committee comes in, they take over. The last people are gone because they didn't even think about fighting, except to say, these fellas in Trinidad wouldn't behave and fighting back. And this is the problem that is facing them.
So we're going to set the precedence.
I believe so. We believe so.
And we need to, I think so. And then if we can win that battle, then a lot of countries is going to come after FIFA in the same way.
It is going to force FIFA to look at its regulations, the statutes about how they proceed.
You know, you want to know if is it an unfettered right to just do something? I mean, and you know, when I look at the statutes actually was written in a vague way. It was written like that for these things to happen, without question. Yeah. Because you have a word in there, exceptional circumstances.
But
simply that.
Yeah.
So it means that they are the ones who have to interpret what exceptional means. So there are no definite guidelines in there. There's nothing in there to guide an executive to say, I would not go down this path, I would move away from this, I would stay. And which is supposed to be there. If you really want me to do the thing the proper way, have something saying to me that this path is not the path you should go down. If you go down this path, you can be normalized. But all you have in there is exceptional circumstances.
Okay, let me ask you a question then. With this battle going on now, and there is no, we don't even know who is in charge, man. We don't even know if normalization committee or you, Wallace, and your group is in charge. So where's football? And this tug of war is, where are we with this tug of war as a TTFA?
I think first, before they answer that, there's something in sport, and I think, Tyrone Marcus, who's a sports attorney, has always pushed, in sport, the result must always be a win-win situation. It should never be a win-loss. Because at some stage, in where we go in with this step, if FIFA was to come out on top, to some extent we lose as a democracy, as a sovereign nation. And if we were to win, then we have the potential of losing something from FIFA. And in a win-win situation, there was an opportunity, and I stand by this personally, that if FIFA saw the problems, as you said, the document could have been returned saying these are what we think or we recommend should be the steps. And if they thought in this case, all the other associations were persons that were already on the slate, were on a past slate, a slate presently that was involved in something, and they thought this slate, we just didn't want them to go down that road or risk. Why not an offer of working alongside, right? And I think that would have been a step, and I'd like to know if you all would have been open to something like that, right? As well as, in terms of what we do moving forward.
Let me just tell you how open we are with that, and probably Trinidad and Tobago would probably hear this for the first time. I think this normalization committee was announced on the 17th of March, was it?
Yeah.
On the 24th of March, I wrote a letter to the FIFA president asking for us to discuss this. And pointing out in that letter that if you think that we need to have specialized persons coming in, we, as an executive, we are willing to work with them for the betterment of football in Trinidad and Tobago. I got a very terse response that they were not interested in that. Okay. And two, as recent as 2 days ago, again, we have reached out. And this is not a position of weakness or anything. No. It's a position of mediation. And I mean, if more mediation took place in this world, we will have less wars. Right. All right? So we reached out once again, asking, could we work this out in the interest of Trinidad and Tobago football? Right? So nobody at the end of the day loses face, and we work it out in the interest of Trinidad and Tobago football. We are waiting a response to the latest offer.
So we all on standby waiting to see that, and where does football stand?
football,
What do we?
They, you know,
Thankfully, COVID.
fortunately or unfortunately, we in the time of COVID.
Yeah.
We're in the time of COVID, and everything has come to a standstill. Gradually, it is being released, but no football is being played. That has turned out, frankly, to be a blessing in disguise for Trinidad and Tobago football, because we have not been missing anything. We're not missing anything. I just made the point that we're not going to be missing international football.
Right.
None is going to be played. Yes, at least not until very late in the year, and that's at the senior team level. The junior tournaments, the futsal tournament, etc., all have been cast into 2021. So in the international arena, we're not missing anything there. But I want again, because people often hear and don't understand. They listen, but they don't hear. I want to underline the point that Wally has just made. We have twice now reached out to FIFA to say the democratically elected executive of the TTFA is fully prepared to work with FIFA to resolve whatever debt issues you believe or financial issues you believe obtain. That has always been the case. The joint FIFA CONCACAF delegation was welcomed with open arms. Wally made that point. It was welcomed with open arms because we thought we were going to be working with them. It is on that basis that they were welcomed. We're going to be working with you to resolve issues.
Right.
We didn't expect an ambush. It was an ambush by FIFA, right? So, but it's not a position of weakness. The case is there. We have a good case. We will fight it. But if you want to talk, we'll talk.
Also, something to note. Whereas in the past, as I said, countries would have been normalized, all 33 of them, that the incumbent executive, would have done something. All right? As I said, whether it was corruption or whatever, and they were removed from office. And you understood then that one of the mandates of the normalization committee would have been to have elections after the period. The question with us, and I have asked that question when I sent my letter to the president, what did we do? So yeah, you're going to have elections in 2 years' time. What did we do? So you understand why they have elections with the other situations in normalization. Because the sitting executive was removed because of something. What did we do? So why are you going to have elections in 2 years? There wasn't even
come in and fix, and then you all could
and
continue.
then you come back in office.
Right.
You know, there was nothing. It was just to get rid of this group.
Absolutely.
And we are asking, and that is the fight. Why do you want to get rid of this group? What did this group do? And that is the question that can't be answered. And we are hearing from, for example, other things now being thrown in the fray. But you know, of course, as I said, I am going to eat 2 points that FIFA officially sent to me by letter. But I'm hearing now from some of our Caribbean neighbors who have had meetings with FIFA over recent times, that there's something else that's been thrown in the pot. That the reason that they did that is because of our association with Mr. Austin Jackwater. Oh, the reason they did that is because of the closure of the home of football, which is you know, at this point, it is, if, you know, to have now moved away, and I'm talking about officials here from FIFA making these statements, to have now moved away from the official reasons sent, to now trying to appeal to people in another way, is telling you that I can't justify what I did here. I can't really justify what I sent in the letter. So I'm now bringing other things to the fray. You know, and as I mentioned the home of football, I know that was a sore point. I'm hearing that is one of the reasons they closed the home of football.
Right, tell us
about the home of football. The home of football, and we made it clear when we had our press conference, the reasons why you couldn't open the home of football.
Yeah.
Right.
And even to use the facility for a step-down COVID-19 step-down facility, even to use it for that purpose,
right,
the amount of work that had to go into it. So 100 soldiers came down, they worked over 3 days, and we got help from corporate Trinidad and Tobago. Have anybody quantified that? In other words, all these soldiers who worked and dig and put cesspit and whatever in place, have you quantified that in terms of dollars and cents? All the equipment sent in, have you quantified that? To be able to tell us how much it would have cost us to bring the facility up to a step-down facility, not hotel yet. We still, in other words, after this is over, if that facility has to be used as a hotel, you still have work to do. Because many of the clearances that were given for this step-down facility are temporary clearances. They were given to be able to facilitate this. Yeah. So you still have to go and do all the things you have to do to get fire clearance. You still have to do all the stuff that you have to do to get other clearances. They were able to get WASA to come in and hook up. We didn't have a water supply, a dedicated water supply. All that had to be done. Could we have opened a hotel? I mean, these are the facts.
Right.
So why people are not just dealing with the facts? The minister was on television saying to you, this is the type of vote that went in to bring it up to purpose, for this purpose, you know? And then I'm hearing that we were going to close that down and build something in Arima.
We have a minute. I want to give you guys any closing remarks that
you know.
Well, I will allow the president the last word, so let me just say it quickly. Our view, my view, is crystal clear. A democratic election was held. The people who came in didn't want to play the FIFA game and didn't want to hide the malpractice that went before. And FIFA took a command decision to remove them. They have put up reasons to try to justify it, but those reasons don't hold water. And that is what this case is all about.
Yes, so it's really and truly about principle. And even though the statutes give FIFA the right to do what they did, we are saying that this is based on principle. And we don't think that you have an unfettered right to come in without explaining to your association, we are doing this because of X, Y, and Z.
I want to thank you guys for being here. I am supporting you and your organization, and hopefully we come through this smiling.
Thank you.
Norada, thank you for being here as well.
It was a pleasure.
ACTN, thanks for giving us the opportunity. We have a Facebook page. You can check us out. We have an email address, philodreamtt@gmail.com. You can drop us a line. The show's ended. Go and teach. My name is Steve David. Good night.